Hi, everyone. I'm Nat. I am dyspraxic. I work at Exceptional Individuals. We support people who are dyslexia, dyspraxia, autism, ADHD, dyscalculia, dysgraphia. First question, are you clumsy? Let me know. Do you consider yourself clumsy? Always falling over? Rarely fall over? Sometimes? Frequently? Almost always. A lot of you have said frequently. I know I am always tripping over myself. Nightmare. This is interesting because a lot of people used to call dyspraxia, which is a neurodivergence, the clumsy disorder. I take great offense to that because it's more than just being clumsy. It is about spatial awareness, somehow not always understanding your surroundings. If a ball is coming to you, you might try to catch it. Your brain has a slight delay, dancing, riding, anything which requires quick processing. That's why it can also affect verbal communication. As always, if you are resonating with this, it does not mean you are necessarily dyspraxic. It is an indication that you might want to explore this a little further. These little dots are traveling all over the screen. We've got frequently a very even mix. Maybe you cannot see those little hands, or it is tough. Understanding left-right does not mean you do not know what left is. You do not know what, am I right? It's a right-left joke. What it does mean is that the brain finds it difficult to remember directions. If we were driving, you have to go left. I might go the complete wrong way. How do you always remember your lefts and your rights? I always have to get my hand up and go, yeah, lefty loosey, righty tighty, all the time. It's a right nightmare. Partionary, always wanting a piece of the action. Wow, 50% of you got the rotten hand left. The left hand is the first one. Always remember it with the left. If you can make an L shape, I cannot think of a better way to do it. Laura says, I always need to look at my hands. Yeah, I really can't do it without. It's like I can't do the alphabet without singing the song. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M. I wouldn't be able to tell you what comes after O without doing the song. Next one, I want you to rate your favorite sports in order. You should be on your phone able to move things like top to bottom until you get to ones that you consider your favorite. I'm right-handed. Interestingly, most people with dyspraxia tend to be left-handed. Well, most of you have said your favorite sports is running, then basketball, running, tennis, basketball, football. I did not expect tennis to overtake the top spot. Why I ask this question is that people with dyspraxia typically struggle with large or small kind of sports that relate to a ball. This is because it requires a lot of fast reactions. I'm expecting running to be the number one because it's more solitary. It doesn't require as fast reactions unless you're running in like a dangerous place. I'm not going to lie, I actually broke someone's nose once by playing rounders. The ball was coming towards me. I let go of the bat, washed the guy's nose out. Still feel guilty to this day. Be careful. I don't know about you. Do you find bigger ball sports hard or smaller? I find football, tennis, basketball challenging, but I could do badminton, maybe because it's a bit slower. It gives the brain a bit more time to process. Number 6, how sensitive are you to touch? Are you a bit ticklish? On these, I just want you to rate how true you think each statement is. You might say, I'm never ticklish, or I'm always ticklish. It's either never or always. You can be somewhere in the middle, be quite far on the spectrum. What I will do is I'll let you know how this relates to dyspraxia. I see we've got a few new people joining. We've got an interesting mix. The majority of you, today we have 15 in the room, ticklish. I am exceptionally ticklish. I'll kick you in the face if you touch me. I just can't control myself. A fair amount of you like receiving hugs, like wearing jumpers. That seems a bit of an odd question. If I get touched, I normally jump. Why? Because if you're dyspraxic, typically you have a real high sensitivity. You're very sensitive to touch. That might mean that you're more likely to be ticklish. It might mean that you either receiving hugs or you do not. It can go either way, depending if you like the touch or you do not. Either way, you're more sensitive to it. It's not uncommon for people who are dyspraxic to find things really irritating. They've got that like little thing at the back normally with a label on. I can get annoyed by that more than an average person. If there's a jumper that's a bit itchy, I'm not wearing that. Dia said, my dentist has a note on my record that I'm very ticklish under my chin. That's funny. I can imagine having to write that down. More under the armpits, I think, which is the ticklish spot. Anyway, number 7, what is something you learned yesterday? If you're able, either on the app or on the comment section, let me know one thing you learned yesterday. There is a reason why I'm asking you. What did I learn yesterday? My son told me facts about Planet, how to use Cisco Jabber on my mobile phone. Access to work are hard work. I am not good at time management. I learned how to get on a bus to travel to a location. The most common answer is I do not remember. Congratulations. High likelihood you've got dyspraxia. Memory retention is a real challenge. That's because the way the brain processes information, think of it like a massive filing cabinet. You just pull the cabinet open, get information. With dyspraxia, that information is at the very top of the cabinet. It's not that it isn't in your brain somewhere. It's that the brain is struggling to re-pull the information. I attended a webinar about learning in nature. Can't remember any details about my notes. I've also got dyslexia, which means I can't even read my notes because they're terribly written, eh? And the best thing I would recommend for this is try and find a way which allows you to remember. I'm not very good at writing. I do make a lot of voice notes. I might speak to my phone, kind of jot things down that way. Or this doesn't work for me personally. Some people say if you have an elastic band and every time you want to remember it, you pinch it. I don't know if that works or not. That's what I've been told. It's a very common trait. What word means the following? A single organism, being, or characteristic of a single thing or person. If you know the word we're looking for, type it in. This has to be spot on, correct spelling everything. Otherwise, you'll get a big time's up. Let's see how we got. We've got individual. Ooh, very good. Got some interesting ones there. Bacteria, nice. The correct answer is individual. I don't know if any of you do crosswords. I cannot do them. With dyspraxia, it's not to do with intelligence. You all know what an individual is, right? We all know what a person is. We might not always be able to retrieve the information. But if you're ever in a situation when the words on the tip of your tongue, you get it out, that is very likely a symptom of dyspraxia because you know the information. The word you're looking for is at the top. This can relate to conversation, spelling, writing, anything in life. These said crosswords are hard. I'm more of a spot the difference kind of guy. Out of these images, what does your handwriting look like? Be honest here. Do people normally say your handwriting is completely illegible? Or is it quite average? People can read it, or super neat. You're always getting the compliments. Interesting. This one is related to dyspraxia. It also crosses over to something called dysgraphia. If you've got really bad handwriting, this can be a sign of dyspraxia. It's how the brain processes writing or information. So you think of what you want to say, you write it. Because there's a slight delay, it ends up all over the place. To clarify, a lot of you said average. Just because you are one or the other doesn't necessarily mean that you do or do not have. For instance, you could have amazingly neat handwriting and still be dyspraxic. These are just more of the common characteristics. I have horrific handwriting. I'm very good at drawing. It's because it comes from different parts of the brain. That's another good way to know if it's related to dyspraxia. Remember that spiky profile with the highs and the lows? If you were, for instance, terrible at drawing, terrible at writing and all of that, it's probably something else. If you have fluctuations, some things you're very good at, others disastrous. That's more like something that would be dyspraxia. You're all doing very good. We are halfway there. Number 10. If you are meeting a person at a new location, what would you do? Are you more likely to arrive late or arrive 10 minutes or an hour early? We're based in London. We have had some people come a week early, also a week late. It's part of dyspraxia. It can make you come across unprofessional in a meeting. Obviously, that's not ideal. Understanding that it's part of your condition can help you find mechanisms, support structures around these difficulties. Most of you have said you arrived 10 minutes early. Do you arrive 10 minutes early because you know that you're going to be late, or are you just super organized? I see a bit of knowledge from Catherine. If you're a working professional, you probably arrive early because you know what you're like. I have to go to a building even a few days before, just I feel confident. Nikki has said, yes, planning ahead for it, plan for it to go horribly wrong. Jane, I set off very early. I try to aim for an hour myself, half an hour at very minimum. You've got to be on time. This is why young people normally show stronger characteristics than older people because they haven't learned these professional skill sets. So both individuals are just as likely to get lost and arrive late. But person is going to plan for failure. Win. Paulie says, for professionals, I plan ahead and allow extra time. For social, I'm always late. I think a lot of us can probably resonate with that. It's bad, isn't it? But it's just how it is. I'll turn up fashionably late. Catherine has said, I arrive a few minutes late or plan ahead. As I get older, my timing is getting worse. If I know I'm running late, my stress levels will go through the roof. It probably means I'll get even later. You could even have Google Maps. You could have alarms, anything. Number 11, did it take you longer to learn to tie your shoes than other people? Whatever age this was around your peer, did it take you a bit longer? Maybe you still can't tie your shoes. You're all about that Velcro. Or I was in secondary school when I finally learned to tie knots, tie my shoelaces to tell the time. I remember being a scout going on a camping trip. We had to shine our shoes and tie our boots and it felt awful. I had to ask someone to do it in private. Honestly, if you can't tie your shoelaces when you're more like 10 or 11, people are going to think you're dumb or stupid. I just really struggled with the coordination. Even to this day, double knots, still falling off my feet every 5 seconds. I'm more of a kind of the shoe you can just slip on. The good thing though, is that a lot of Velcro shoes also have those flashing lights in the bottom. So it's always fun. Most of you have said, I don't ask for a fancy. This type of thing where at our ages, we probably have found coping mechanisms. It doesn't mean that the struggle is in there still. Is one which could go terribly wrong here and offensive. Let's do it anyway. How would you answer this question? Honey, does this shirt make me look fat? How would you answer this? Let's see what we got. Yes. You have shirts that suit you more. It makes you look bigger. Darling, what do you think? That's good. It's all about loving your body, no matter what size you are. Yeah. I would answer the individual truthfully. Yes. It makes you look bigger. I must say you're a very polite audience. I was fully preparing complete savagery. And why this is on here is that with dyspraxia, you know how he talked about word retention? It can be difficult to say the right things. Say you're in a situation, there's two answers. There's the answer that you're really thinking with no filter, and there's the answer which is sensitive. I'm not saying lying. You're taking the person's feelings into consideration. With dyspraxia, if you're doing multiple processing, it can be difficult for the brain to do two tasks at once. Typically, you'll say something offensive, then come out with the more politically correct answer, which is a bit more suited to that situation. But by that point, the damage is done. This is definitely something I struggle with all the time. I think people either end up hating me for life because of it or find it endearing. Now, teen, rate your communication style you use the most. How much you rate yourself. If you're passive, you're like, yeah, I'm chill. Cool. Let's just go with the flow. Aggressive, you're a bit more likely to start a bit more confrontation. Passive aggressive, new haircut, even though you hate it. Or assertive, we're doing this today. Let's go. Paulina said, I had to learn to be tactful. It wasn't a natural skill. With all the challenges of dyspraxia or any neuro, you can learn to overcome it. This doesn't mean you get rid of the root cause. You do find coping mechanisms. I'm not surprised that many of you didn't say aggressive because as human beings, we're not very self-aware. No one likes to admit it. It is a quality that a lot of us do have. Now, passive is not surprising. People with dyspraxia are often seen as introvert, not extrovert, which means they're more likely to listen than to actively put the hand up and wave. Is that because life has trampled them down? Or is that just a natural thing of dyspraxia or their... I can't really answer that. It's probably a combination. It don't have to be negative. Then passive aggressive, this could be like a bit more sarcastic. Assertive is being very sure. Typically, if you are dyspraxic, you might be a bit more passive. If your brain is taking a little bit longer to put all the different ways of thinking and answers together, you might be aggressive because you're unable to think quickly. You're a bit more snappy and defensive. Being passive aggressive tends to be not a very dyspraxic characteristic because let's face it, you're normally quite witty. Don't they say witty is the lowest form? No, sarcasm is the lowest form of wit. There's that. Assertive, though we like to think of ourselves as assertive, that normally does require a very definitive answer. And if your brain is struggling with which one to go with, it might not be the most assertive. But please remember, these are just the most casual and typical characteristics, and none of these define the condition completely. I do not want you going away thinking all people with dyspraxia are pushovers. Catherine, communication causes me a lot of frustration at work, being told I'm defensive when challenged. You can come across a little bit aggressive and defensive. It's just because they don't understand you. You understand yourself, or at least you think you do. You're unable to get that across. This is where dyslexia and dyspraxia interlink. Dyslexia is having it, not being able to communicate on paper or in other means. Dyspraxia is more verbal. Same output, a communication deficit, different in terms of how the brain gets to that deficit. Laura said, I think sometimes people can misinterpret these things. Now, 14, have any of you ever had phobias or obsessive behaviors with any of the following? It could be social interaction, which could be groups, big spaces, little spaces, public speaking. It could be heights, flying, vertigo. Maybe you hate spiders, insects, snakes, small little things. Needles, you don't want to get a needle. Or actually, you're good. Are you scared of anything? Come at me, zombies. Interestingly, in the US, public speaking is the most feared thing. It actually comes first, and the second one is death. Imagine that. You're more scared of talking in front of a group than you are of dying. We, as human beings, who knows why we have all these phobias? Any of these could be anything. It's quite often that people with dyspraxia do have phobias or do have OCD, that's obsessive behavior disorder tendencies. It doesn't have to be a full blown diagnosis. That's because the brain's processing can latch on to bits of information and it's holding on tight, trying to process it. And latching onto something can turn into an obsession, all right? This is why you're trying to like, that spider. I don't know why. I hate it. It looks, I don't like it. And your brain is focusing, what's wrong with it? I don't understand it. Why is it all like walking around crazy? That can lead to something more severe. There is a higher population with dyspraxia that also has a phobia of some sort. And Anna said, I don't like long answers, tend to be more assertive. Yeah, that actually is a good point, actually. Assertive could just be short answers to the point because long answers. What are daily tasks that you get frustrated and impatient with? Just let me know. Is there anything that day in and day out gets you really annoyed? Probably shouldn't be a big deal because it's just part of life. Tidying up? Yeah, I'm not the type of. Writing emails? I completely understand that. I spend half my day writing emails. Drag and dictate, the software really helps. Laptop? Yep, when you want your computer to do one thing and it's just not listening to you. Organizing, tidying up mess, numbers, forgetting things. I am forgetful. I bought a load of tiles, things which can help me find my belongings. I'm always like, tile, where's my wallet? It will find it. They're really good. Caveat, they're a little bit expensive. Personally, if you're like me and always losing things, they can be quite good. That's Tile, Tile. I have, when you got like, Alexa, find my phone. That helps me find. All these things are completely normal. That doesn't mean it's not frustrating. At least you can put some context behind it. Not answering, washing up, putting laundry away, picking up objects, dropping stuff, dishwasher. It seems like we often have a lot of frustrations. Okay, just because you don't like emptying the dishwasher doesn't make you dyspraxic. It does. Getting frustrated easily, having a bit of a short temper can be a result of living with that way of thinking. All righties. 16. Out of 10, how true are these statements? Do you write false or true? I learned to ride a bike with ease. I am a good dancer. I am good at video games. Catherine says, I'm seriously considering a cleaner. I keep thinking I shouldn't be something I need to pay for. I should just do it myself. It doesn't. It's already me. I'm terrible at video games. I only like playing open world games where you can just run around and do whatever you want. Why did I ask these questions? You're probably starting to get the theme of really what is dyspraxia. Riding a bike can take long. They say once you've learned to ride a bike, you never forget. I would like to challenge that. I'm quite good at it. It took a long time. I was on stabilizers for far too long. I am a good dancer. Interestingly, more of you are at high school than I would have imagined. Don't get me wrong. I like dancing. When you're like just going like crazy. If you're doing more calculated dancing, I know salsa, tango, or anything that requires rhythm or pattern, that's typically where being dyspraxic might let you down. It can be overcome. It's going to take a lot of practice. Lastly, good at video games, which most of you have said not. This could be the demographic that it just really isn't your jam. What I find interesting is that people always assume you're bad at sports, you might be good at video games because they're quite different, but they're not. They're very similar. They all require coordination skills. If you're not able to tap really fast, you're going to die. That's very similar to riding a bike. If you don't pedal the right way, you're going to die. Sorry, that took a morbid turn. You get the idea, is that anything which will require a fast reaction, dancing, cycling, video games, is going to have a similar result. Nikki has said, I've been banned from 2 separate dance classes. Very impressive. Can they ban you for being bad? I used to do tap dancing for 7 years when I was younger. And my mum thought, well, we'll keep doing those dance lessons. The sun did not come out tomorrow. I quit. We are almost done. If you have any questions, ask them or email me later. I'd love to see you again. It's been an absolute pleasure. A lovely rest of your day.